Welcome to Talent Experience Live,
your weekly look at all of the hot topics in HR.
People are 28% more productive when they use vacation time.
Involving themselves very deeply in diversity and inclusion efforts.
Ramping up college recruiting and career fairs.
Artificial intelligence helped automate certain tasks.
50% more applications. How do you make your company culture still stand out?
What does that look like in this new virtual world?
Welcome everyone to Talent Experience Live. As always, your weekly look at the hot topics in HR and interviews with leaders in the industry, as well as our favorite hot new HR tech. HR tech, so hot now. Covering everything that you need to know in recruitment, talent acquisition, and talent management. As always, be sure to follow us on your favorite social media platforms, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. We're broadcasting live to all of those. And again, what makes this so special is your interaction. We can't do it without you. So feel free to sound off in the comment section, ask questions, tell us what you're eating for lunch today, whatever it may be. We love the interaction. It's one of the fun things that we can do in this work from home world. I'm Devin Foster, and as always, I am joined by my lovely co-host, Natalie McKnight. Natalie, what do we have in store for the viewers today?
Yeah, so today's topic is actually going to relate a little bit back to our conversation last week, which was around conversational AI. And today we're going to discuss how to become an AI expert on your team. So AI is still very much an overused buzzword in the industry. And sometimes when a term like that becomes overused, it can cause confusion as to what it actually means for them and how it applies to their everyday activities in HR. So we're here to kind of try to help dispel some of that confusion and also talk a lot about our upcoming event, which is next week, and that is called Phenom Presents AI and the Involved Recruiter. So this is a guide to AI, and unlike every other HR event you go to, we're going to break it down into real world jargon-free terms, so you can learn exactly how it applies to your life and what the value that it brings. So some stats here, Devin. According to Mercer, 88% of companies globally already use AI in some way for HR. With 100% of Chinese firms and 83% of US employers relying on some form of the technology. So companies that are planning to invest in AI this year are targeting things like chatbots for employee self-service, such as changing benefits or requesting time off, the ability to identify employees who are disengaged or at risk for leaving, suggestions of job openings or career paths for current employees, help in performance management process, and customizing or improving benchmarking and compensation. So there's a lot of things that AI can really do for people in this industry and in your daily life.
I couldn't agree more. And Natalie, the one thing that AI kind of reminds me of right now, as I'm wearing this Los Angeles Lakers hat, is it's almost like bandwagon fans. Right? The Lakers win an NBA championship. Everyone becomes a LeBron and Lakers fan. AI becomes a huge topic in HR. Everybody needs AI. And that Mercer study that you had mentioned breaks down a couple of those technologies and really what organizations are using right now. Chatbots to look up information in the company, such as those policies and benefits that you mentioned, is being used 56% of the time. Identifying the best candidate based on publicly available data like social media profiles is used 44% of the time. Providing recommendations for learning and training of employees is 43%. And using chatbots to engage with candidates during recruitment, 41%, as well as screening and assessing candidates is 40%. So those kind of all vary and hang around that 50% range. So people are all over the place when it comes to AI. And I think the industry really needs to demystify a little bit, right? Unlike the bandwagon Lakers fans, they're all Lakers fans. They're not Lakers fans just because of LeBron or Lakers fans just because of Anthony Davis. They're all grouped into that one section. And the same thing with AI. If you're using it in one area and it could be more effective in another area, we really want to help you do that and see what works best for you. So, Natalie, I know we have two special guests and friends of the show on today. Who do we have chatting with the people today?
Yeah, so we've got Jonathan Dale and Tom Tate, and they're going to help us shed some more light on what these stats mean that we just kind of rattled off to you guys, and how the event is going to help explain as well.
Awesome. So we'll bring them on. Hey guys, how are you?
What's going on?
Yeah, doing great. Thanks.
You couldn't have said that with less enthusiasm, JD. I don't know. Is everything okay?
No, I'm a little disappointed because we have these live sessions right now. I have a Lakers sweatshirt that I bought 30 some years ago that I still have, and I have a Lakers ball signed by Wilt Chamberlain. I would have brought them onto the show. I just needed a heads up. I thought so. We're celebrating the Lakers championship. That's what we're doing on this episode. I love it.
That is exactly what we're doing on today's episode. And I'm sorry, I should have let you know about my wardrobe and about how I was going to introduce the show. But nonetheless, excited to have you on. And we're not talking about Lakers basketball. We are talking about artificial intelligence, which is something I know you both are very well versed in a number of areas. And Natalie, I know you have a question that you are itching to fire off to Tom. So I'll hand it over to you.
Obviously, yes. So Tom, can you give us an overview of the event? And, there's going to be a lot of great sessions. So what are you most looking forward to out of the sessions that we're going to be holding?
Yeah, definitely. So, it might actually make sense for me to just share my screen. So let's take a look at some of the event details. Before I dive into the event details, though, I'm super excited about this event. I've been working behind the scenes on a lot of the logistics. I've been working closely with the speakers, so I can definitely speak to all of that. But something that is near and dear to us at Phenom is the experience of using the platform, right? We talk a lot about our experiences: the candidate experience, the employee experience, the recruiter experience, and the manager experience. But as we know, as users of different pieces of software and interfaces throughout the day, we don't love to see AI. Like that's one of the things about AI is when it's really, really good, it blends in. You don't see it. You don't have to know about it. You don't have to know how it works. We always use the Netflix analogy. So Netflix has dozens of algorithms that are just pumping all the time, so that when I sign on to Netflix, I get instant recommendations. Like, this is what you should watch right now. And my Netflix is going to be different than your Netflix, Natalie. So my recommendations, they might be colored by my kids' tastes. Luckily they have profiles, so I can keep it separated, right? So it doesn't always bleed in.
That was the best discovery.
Spotify needs to get on that, because I keep getting the wiggles. Leaking into my heavy metal playlist. So the best AI blends in the background, so you don't really need to know about it and how it works as an end user, right? But as an HR practitioner, you do need to understand like the base level concepts of AI, because we're going to use it to our advantage. We're going to leverage it to be more competitive, right? To find the right fit faster, right? To automate those tasks that are, keeping us from doing the things that we want to do, which is connect with candidates and connect with actual humans on a human to human level, something that AI can't do, right? So we want to know kind of like the base level concepts so that we can apply them, so that we can use them to our advantage. But what we find is when you start to dig into it, a lot of the content out there is filled with jargon. A lot of the content out there is filled with, I'm guilty of this because I'm a marketer. We use marketing buzzwords and we pump it up, and sometimes we are more confusing than actually enlightening, right? So one of the things we really wanted to do with this event was bring the concepts of AI to HR practitioners in a way that is understandable, that is enjoyable to consume, right? We want this event to be enjoyable to consume, and in a way that you can immediately start to apply these concepts to your day-to-day. So just looking at the event, October 22nd, Phenom presents AI and the Evolved Recruiter. This is going to be a live streamed event. We're going to be going for 4 hours. JD will say, why can't we go for 8 hours? Well, LinkedIn has a 4-hour limit, right? So we're going to go for 4 hours, and we're going to figure out a way to go for 8 hours on the next one, right? But super excited. We're going to be streaming from 11 a.m. Eastern on throughout the day. Really, the concepts here, no nonsense AI. We want to make sure that this is not confusing. We are demystifying AI. You're going to get a bonus definitive guide to AI. So that's going to be an ebook fresh off the digital press that you'll be getting delivered to you as well. And here's one of the most important things: snackable content, 25 minutes or less. We're going to get you in and out on these sessions. We're not going to hold you for these 60-minute webinar style, put you to sleep at the 25-minute mark. We're going to stop it there, make sure that they're super actionable. I'm not going to get into the sessions because I know that we will talk about who's speaking and all those details. But if you head on over to phenom.com/AI and the Evolved Recruiter, dashes in between each of the words, you'll hit this site. You'll be able to sign up totally free. We'd love to have you.
Awesome. So how is this event going to be different than other typical virtual events that people may or may not have been joining, and closer to events as they were pre-pandemic?
Yeah, I think the most important, thing to consider with this is those 25-minute snackable sessions. I can't tell you the amount of times I sign up for even just a webinar, even just a 60-minute webinar that I was excited for. But when it came time to really tune in that day, when it came time to it, I was swamped with so many other things. I wasn't able to dedicate the full hour, the full 60 minutes to really get in there and learn what I wanted to learn, right? And get that competitive edge and level up. I wanted to, I was excited about it, but when it came time to do it, I couldn't do it. So what we're trying to do, and honestly, when you get on those webinars, and maybe we're guilty of this. I don't think we're guilty of this. We do a pretty good job. But when you get on those webinars, a lot of it is fluff. And there's only like 20 to 25 minutes of actual useful content in there anyways. In a lot of these virtual events I've been attending, there's only 20 to 25 minutes of actual content anyways. So what we're doing is we're getting rid of the fluff and we're focusing just on the actionable content. And we're going to deliver it, and we're going to deliver it in a concise way. So that's part of the goal. And it's all going to be available on demand afterwards too. So if you sign up, we realistically don't expect that every single registrant is going to have a 4-hour window where they can just tune in with some popcorn and watch the entire event, right? So we're going to keep things moving. We're going to keep things flowing. But if you have to duck in and out, you're still going to get full access to watch on demand. And we wanted to make sure that you were able to get that. And then that was really important to us too. I see a lot of these events where they live stream and it's one and done. So if you missed it, you missed it. And that's not always the best experience.
So Tom, you kind of teased a bunch of the sessions there that are coming up. And my question is for JD. JD, aside from the host, which I know you are excited for, the host, what session are you most excited for and interested in? What provides the most value for you? What do you expect to learn?
Are we allowed to swear on this program, or do we get flagged by LinkedIn and YouTube? That's a serious question. We'll take it offline and find the answer. But the session I'm most excited about is the one that tells us what part of AI is BS, and what have folks, especially in our HR industry, been tricked to think AI is, and what's the practical daily use of AI in the role, especially of a recruiter. So that's the session. And when you think about it, when you look at the entire agenda that Tom was scrolling down the page with, that entire agenda is meant to remove the BS from our industry and to talk about what's real and how you apply it to your daily role. And quite frankly, that's what I'm most excited about, because it's educating people and individuals who really care about this stuff, who really can get a meaningful difference in their role moving forward by understanding how AI, automation, and intelligence actually fit into the daily routine now.
JD, I'm going to answer your first question. Right now, this is a family show because we don't know who's watching from home, who doesn't have their headphones in, and I don't want to be the person to teach kids cuss words. I've done it enough on our group meetings that we have that I can't do it to a larger audience. And you teased the session that I'm most excited for as well, which is with analyst John Sumser, and he talks about the 5 things and 5 misconceptions that there are with AI. And you mentioned that. Now, for those of the individuals who are on here who aren't familiar with John and kind of his background, what makes him an expert in these 5 misconceptions?
First of all, I like talking with John Sumser personally, as well as around these topics of AI, because the one thing you know from John and an analyst's point of view is he doesn't care what you think. He cares what he's heard, what he studied, what he's seen in research. He brings that out in his presentations. And that's why I like him so much. And in talking to him the other day, he said one thing that really stuck out at me that I think the audience in hearing his session is going to love. He said, AI is not once and done. And when you think about AI and you think about the misconceptions around AI, and that's what he's going to provide. He's going to provide the 5 misconceptions around AI. So the first thing he told me is only 5? Yeah. Because there's so many out there. But he did say that AI is not once and done. And so he's got a special session there. He doesn't hold back. He really goes after it, and he brings education there. Only John Sumser can do that.
Yeah, I was going to add to that too, JD. When you and I first had a call with John to invite him to participate in this event, he said something that stood out to me too, which was, I might say things that you might not like me saying, right? And by that he meant Phenom, because we are a company that sells HR technology, an HR SaaS product. And he said, I might say things about AI that you might not want to hear. And we told him, don't hold back, don't hold back. If it needs to be said, say it. And I have full confidence he will deliver, that unbiased opinion and based on research and based on all of the kind of boots on the ground inputs that he's getting, he's going to deliver that kind of unbiased approach. And I thought that was amazing. And I'm really excited for that session too.
Yeah, but boy, Tom, you hit on something that everyone wants to know about. And I think we are exploring it in our event. And that is bias or unbiased of AI. That alone is a polarizing topic. Once again, there's been a lot of misinformation. And depending on what vendor you speak with, some vendors say AI solves the bias, and other vendors say, no, AI is causing your bias. How can it be so opposite, right? Yeah. We must be in a political year.
Yeah. Well, and it's also from the customer perspective and the conversations that I have with our customers, the big concern, right? It's we're talking about recommendations for different positions. And it's one of the first questions that I get as I present some of these things is, well, what about bias? What are we doing about bias? How does this help or hurt us? So I'm really happy to hear that that's going to be tackled in one of the sessions for this presentation.
Yeah, John will talk about bias specifically, and he will also talk about ethics, right? The concept of ethics within your AI, which is a very important concept. So he will touch on that, but we actually have a separate session that is how you can leverage artificial intelligence to hire for diversity. And of course, we know that when you're hiring for diversity, bias, again, is another one of those concepts that just comes up immediately, right? So humans have bias. AI can have bias, so to JD's point, it's how do you make full sense of that, right? And how do you leverage both technology and humans, to work together to make sure that we're hiring for diversity, we're set up to hire for diversity. So that'll be a fantastic session with Maggie and Sumita, who are on the Phenom team, who can speak to the full talent journey, right? So AI doesn't just sit in one spot, and also hiring for diversity and inclusion doesn't just sit in one spot of the journey either. It impacts employees and managers significantly, right? So they will speak to the full talent lifecycle, how AI can be leveraged within that lifecycle to hire for diversity. And again, we don't say eliminate bias, right? We don't say that. We say reduce bias, and they will talk through kind of what that looks like and how you can implement that.
Yeah, that's a really good distinction to make too, that there's always going to be that bias, but the more we can do to reduce it, the better. So my next question is for JD. You know, obviously Phenom's been in the news a lot lately with the acquisition of MyAlly, and Devin and I actually spoke to DT last week, or 2 weeks ago, excuse me. What can we expect from that session, and will we hear more about how Phenom and MyAlly will integrate and coincide with each other?
You know, so first off, fine question, but if we step back just a little bit and we look at how did we put this event together, you know, Tom was one of the folks who really took the lead here. Tom, I'll just brag about you a little bit, but it's important to our viewers to understand this. We wanted to put together an event centered around AI, automation, intelligence to help HR professionals really understand what this means to their daily workflow and lives. So what we did is we set out and we created multiple sessions. We have 2 customers who are presenting live, you know, like customer peers, folks who any HR professional can relate to because they are one and the same. It's like your coworker sitting next to you, and they have some amazing points to talk about. Again, around these concepts of AI, automation, intelligence, diversity, and inclusion. We grabbed 2 of the leading analysts in AI, and we have their perspective and what they're talking about. We mentioned John Sumser. We have Stacey Harris as well joining us, and she's really going to talk about everyday AI in your everyday life. So you have the customer viewpoint and examples, right? You have analyst viewpoint and examples, and then we brought Mahi on. Mahi is our CEO, co-founder, and he wants to talk about and share a point of view. This isn't about technology in this case. It's a point of view about AI and how that is helping recruiters, the millions of recruiters out there, how it's changing their daily routine and what they're going to be able to do and not do in recruiting talent and spending time and building relationships. This is actually a can't miss session, and that kicks off our keynote. And then you had mentioned our MyAlly acquisition. Deepti, the CEO and founder of MyAlly, she's talking about conversational AI. Again, that's another layer within AI, automation, intelligence. And their background is around how AI is helping with interview scheduling and the automation of scheduling. But that session will go much deeper than that as well. It'll talk about conversational AI in a broader perspective. So the event was really put together to make sure we brought multiple industry-leading point of views in one 4-hour event. And no one else, no other company in HR has done this yet for the industry. And we're really proud that Phenom is leading the way in getting this conversation out there.
JD, that's an awesome point, because you mentioned both Deepti and Mahi there, and it's not like these 2 individuals are hopping on webinars on a regular basis, right? They're high level executives with a lot of insight. So to get access to them and see their point of views and how they tackle, you know, some of these issues and biases and how AI can help is really going to be informative, I think, to the viewer. Tom, I'm going to ask you, this is a little off script, but I saw you had pulled up the schedule before. Would you be able to pull that up again and show the viewers the full docket of who will be attending this particular event? And then also, I saw the definitive guide for AI. That's an awesome little freebie. Do you think that these ebooks and these sort of things are going to replace what we used to know as swag? So no one's going to come home with a bag full of handouts and USB drives and headphones. Now they're going to actually get some material.
I'm running low on lip balm, so it's going to go away forever.
For sure. Yeah, that's a great point. We have, so to date, when we're recording this, we have over 500 registrants already for this event. So you can save your seat today. You can be one of the 500 and growing registrants. For us to send swag to 500 plus registrants, you know, maybe hopefully over 1,000 by early next week. You know, like we'd probably do some damage to the environment and put some strain on the Postal Service, which now is not a time when we want to put additional strain on the Postal Service for various reasons, right? Actually, I think, JD, you're environmentally conscious. You planted a bunch of trees this past summer, right? Isn't that accurate? Yeah.
Yeah, I planted 850 trees this spring, and my knees are still reminding me of that every day now. So we definitely, hey, look, I love swag, right? As a marketer, we love swag. But in this case, we did one better, right? Our mission is to educate right now in the world of AI, automation and intelligence, right? And how that affects everyday life for especially recruiters, but all of HR. So to complement that, we created an ultimate guide ebook around AI. And that's what everyone gets is kind of their marketing swag here. So it hasn't been published. I don't think we're going to publish it until the event. And we'll make it special that everyone who actually registers for the event will automatically get this, what will be hot off the press, ultimate guide to AI. So we're pretty happy to be able to do that.
Yeah, we're excited. And if you've noticed, in the top of the page, in the top of the program today, we branded this Phenom Presents AI and the Evolved Recruiter because we anticipate that this isn't going to just be our only virtual event in the short term. We are very much harnessing our ability to produce these at an exceptional quality and do it in a way that's repeatable so that we can continue to bring value to the HR community. In your response to swag, Devin, I think what we'll start to see with our events and with other events in the industry is less physical swag and more experiences, right? So we'll be looking to create remarkable experiences for anybody who interacts with our events, right? And that could translate into special experiences that sub-registrants get, so we're looking to experiment with that for sure. But to answer your question about who's speaking, let me just run through the list real fast. So I'll do this quickly, but we have Mahi, our CEO and co-founder, who will be kicking us off with the keynote, Demystifying AI and the Evolved Recruiter. This is the year where we must adapt and evolve. And Mahi's going to give his point of view and show this concept of the Evolved Recruiter, which we've seen internally a few times. And it's pretty awesome. I'm so excited. I always get excited to see Mahi speak. And in this context, because I'm kind of an AI geek, I always love seeing him tackle these topics. As JD mentioned, we're bringing on some amazing analysts. Stacey Harris is going to be talking about everyday AI, understanding AI's role in our daily activities. She recently completed a monumental survey, an annual survey that she does, and they've been doing it for over 2 decades. So she has her finger on the pulse of trends in HR that are backed by data, right? This isn't just anecdotal. What I'm seeing on Twitter and LinkedIn, this is backed by great data. She's going to be previewing some of the results from this year's survey. She's going to be talking through how AI can really supplement a lot of the activities that many recruiters are struggling with. We talk about a lot of the changes post-pandemic. We'll be touching on a few of those here. And if you really want to get a competitive advantage as a recruiter, as a talent acquisition team, this is a can't miss session. As I mentioned, Maggie and Sumita will be joining us for leveraging AI to hire for diversity. Heidi Chapeau is going to be talking about how AI powers candidate experience from first visit to completed apply. So if you want to see, I mentioned Netflix earlier, right? We don't really see the AI in play, it blends into the background, but we know the Netflix experience on the front end. If you want to see what the ideal candidate experience looks like on the front end on a career site, when a stranger hits your site to the point where they make that application, Heidi is going to walk through this, right, on the Magellan site. She's going to show you where the AI is in action, how the recruiters interact with it. What is the value? What are the benefits? What happens if someone interacts with your chatbot but doesn't leave their name and email address? Do we still get insights from that? Do they still get job recommendations? Spoiler alert, yes, they do, right? But we're going to go through all of that. So this is a great session. 5 misconceptions of AI and machine learning. John Sumser, we all know John. Fantastic. We already spoke about this session and his kind of no-nonsense approach to giving us the goods on that. AI is a journey, not a product. Here's another great conversation that we'll be having with a customer. Sandra from Kunenagel is going to be talking about the journey of implementing AI in the employee experience, right? So how does AI impact our ability to engage employees and promote internal mobility? And as we mentioned earlier, implementing AI is not flip the switch. It's not one and done. It requires a true partner to help work with it, refine it, train it, get it right, optimize it, make sure that we're hitting our goals, make sure that we're hitting the results that we want. And this is going to be a great conversation, a great candid conversation about what that journey of implementation looks like. We have Deepti and Andrew O'Brien, who will be joining us to talk about basically conversational AI 101. What is it? What does it look like? What does it look like in practice? How do we get started with it? And then finally, we have a panel. So we've added additional people to this panel. So right now you see Kumar and Jonathan Dale, but we've added additional team members. So this will actually be a 5-person panel when all is said and done to talk about what does the future of AI look like in HR technology. Really awesome to be forward thinking. So much has changed this year. So much will continue to change. You want to keep up with it. So we're going to deliver in this session what you need to know going into 2021 and beyond to really be kind of the hero in your team meetings. Like, you will be the AI expert, right? You will be the one who knows all of these concepts, who can speak intelligently to it, who can advocate for the right technology, the right practices, whether it's your team meetings, your boardroom. We are going to equip you with everything that you need to know to really become that hero on your team, that AI advocate. So that is our sessions. I'm going to flash the URL on the screen again.
Nice. So I'm so excited about all of this content. It's just going to be amazing. And I think it's going to leave people with a lot of really great resources. JD, can you remind us, if we can't attend the meeting or the webinar at all, or if we can only attend a couple of sessions, what can people do to get access to all of this content?
So Phenom presents AI and the Evolved Recruiter. Right? It's for any single recruiter out there, regardless of what size company you're with right now, or how many, employees or talent you're going after and hiring. This event is for you. And if you can't make it on October 22nd, you have to at least register now, because registering now gives you exclusive access to the ultimate or the definitive guide of AI ebook, and it puts you in a position to access all of the on-demand sessions. So regardless of you can make it or not, be sure to register and don't miss out on getting access to that content.
Yeah, absolutely.
JD, that's exciting. I mean, we talked about Netflix being an example for so long and bingeable content. By registering, we're essentially making this bingeable no matter what time of day it is. So if you do have to make avocado toast in the morning and you can't attend Mahi's session, you can watch it later, and registration is the most important way to do that. I know we talked about bias a little bit here. I just want to let the people at home know we won't be talking about my PlayStation 4's bias towards me and how I can never beat the computer in NBA 2K. We will be talking about real world applications for artificial intelligence and how it helps evolve the recruiter. So how it's going to help your day-to-day work. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining. This has been awesome, super informative. And my last question is, any parting shots? If you could give the listeners and viewers one thing to take home, what would it be?
Well, one, I was just eating avocado toast before I jumped on the stream, so I don't know if that's a personal dig at me or a reference to a millennial joke that you made earlier today. So I'm going to leave that one there. But I would just echo JD. It's free to register, right? So hop on and register, and you're going to get that on-demand access. So while we want you in the chat, we want you interacting with us the day of, we understand that life is crazy right now, right? Like, life is hectic. It's busy. Everyone's entering into a very busy season. Whether you're a recruiter, a talent marketer, VP of talent, it's busy. We understand that. That's why we're making it short, snackable, and on demand. Like, that's the key to really getting this content. You can watch them in between meetings. Like, you can really fit these in throughout your days in the coming months ahead as we wind down 2020. And we are so confident that this technology is going to be critical for HR professionals going into 2021. That's why we felt like the time was right for us to demystify it, deliver it. And we are so excited. We can't wait for you to join and check it out.
Yeah, and don't miss out on your SHRM credits, because these sessions are SHRM approved, and you get SHRM credits for it too. So you're not only learning, you're getting some of the credits you need as well, which once again, we're proud to be able to offer the education and the value here with this free online event.
I'm super excited. Can't wait for next Thursday. Kicks off at 11 a.m. One comment came in from Neha Patel. Is there any courses for HR Recruiter on this? And yes, this is all about the Evolved Recruiter. It's catered for recruiters. It's not catered towards CEOs or CHROs. It is catered for the people on the front lines fighting those battles with talent acquisition and talent management to help you, and how AI can assist and add that tool into your tool belt. So, gentlemen, I'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your day. I know a lot of preparation going into this event, so I'm sure that you have busy things to do. But thank you so much once again for joining. You're both friends of the shows. We're printing up your T-shirts and sending them out soon. And can't wait to have you back on, all right?
I still want my staff shirt. I just want one that's staff, right? Because like I'm typically behind the scenes, so it's always exciting to be on camera. So I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Natalie, I'm excited. The 22nd can't come soon enough, not only because a weekend falls in between now and the 22nd, but also this is going to be super important and really, I think, going to help a lot of people out. As you mentioned, AI is a huge buzzword. People just throw it around, to make themselves sound smart. If they gather just a little bit of information from this, they really will know how to hold themselves in conversations with those boardroom, type calls and things. But thank you once again for joining. You are always my favorite and only co-host. I'm not saying that just because. And we have next week off because we're doing the event. So
yes, we do. So we'll see everyone in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yes, 2 weeks. Natalie, I fully expect you to just go full pamper day as long as you're watching the AI event on your phone while you're doing it. But thanks again, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, Devin.
All right, bye.